In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 changes that Hearthstone needs to make right away. So the first change that I think Hearthstone needs to make Wild great again. So what am I talking about when I say that? The good decks in Wild have been good for a very long time. And though there have been some small changes with the recent expansion, and there were some sizable changes with Scholomance, a lot of the good decks right now have been good pretty much as far back as memory goes on the internet. And because of that, I think Wild is pretty boring right now. A lot of you have noticed that I haven't been uploading Wild content to the channel. It's because I don't feel motivated to play Wild. I don't find it very interesting, and it's the same stuff I've seen before, but it becomes even more frustrating with the degree of solved that the meta is, basically. And I think people and Blizzard are often against nerfing top decks because they don't want to see a deck that people like go away. But if you look at Corbett's most recent video, he actually makes a great point, which is that Blizzard realized pretty recently, as soon as this year, that when they had an OP deck and they tuned it down, people didn't stop playing the game, even if they liked that deck a lot. So I think overall, it's just prudent for Blizzard to make nerfs that make Wild more interesting. They don't have to destroy or upend the format. They just have to tune things to make things more fun, right? I don't know why that's such a controversial opinion that Blizzard should make Wild more fun. I don't think there's anybody out there that says, oh, if you tune down Raza Priest and Darkglare a little bit, that it would make Wild less fun. That's ridiculous. Wild has one of the most diverse Tier 2 and Tier 3 groups right now that we've ever seen, but so many of these decks just feel unplayable because they have 100% losses into Darkglare, Reno Priest, or something else that's just silly. So my simple changes for Wild, I actually have just 2. One is to revert the revert on Raza. Make that hero power cost 1. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. It lets Reno Priest do its thing. It's still going to be probably a tier 2 deck, but it's not the boogeyman of the meta that deserves an immediate nerf that makes people so upset when they see it, and it still has the counterplay that we see in the current meta, right? You can delete the hero power if you need, and it's a lot easier to survive against a combo where your opponent has to spend mana on their hero power. So I think that's a pretty fair change. I think most people will agree with that. I see a lot of people calling for that these days. And my other change, people are not going to agree with this one, but I think Loatheb should make opponent spells cost 2 mana more next turn. So let me explain this a little bit. I think Loatheb is the dumbest card in Wild, and I think it's absolutely not even close. If you could put tiers of dumb cards in Wild that shouldn't exist, I would put Loatheb like SSS tier, and I might put the next closest card in A tier. And the reason for that is that Loatheb is the most uninteractive card ever printed. There is literally nothing you can do right now if Darkglare builds up a board and then just puts a Loatheb on top of it. Loatheb was printed originally in a meta where spells weren't even that good, let alone minions. But the idea of dropping 30-30 worth of stats on tier 5 and then just putting a Loatheb on top of it, of course, wasn't a thing back then. And I don't think that necessarily making a giant board on turn 5 is wrong for Wild. I mean, I understand why that's a thing. And in fact, there are plenty of decks that do that, and it's not unfair. But I think the mana cheat of bringing out Loatheb on top of that turn is the one thing that makes it unfair. You can run cards like Shadow Word Ruin, you can run cards like Poison Seeds, and those are all great at clearing big boards. They're totally fine, but they're spells, right? And Wild just doesn't have ways to clear big boards without spells. There's Barov, and that's it. And those are in 2 classes that are basically irrelevant because they can't beat anything else. And building an entire deck around drawing a 1-of sucks, especially in Paladin and Warrior, which are terrible for draw. So there just isn't answers to giant boards that aren't spells. And the ability to cheat out Loatheb just makes those giant boards uninteractable. And when that happens to me, I want to throw my keyboard out the window. I want to throw my computer out the window. I want to uninstall the game and never play it again. There's nothing worse than that. And that's why I think Loatheb needs to be changed. So the second thing that I think that Blizzard needs to change about Hearthstone right away is they have to tune down Galakron in Battlegrounds. everybody who's played Battlegrounds recently totally agrees with me. There's nothing fun about Galakron who gets the Ghast Coiler, who gets a Calicos, and they just destroy the lobby because they happen to get lucky turn 5. And a lot of times, it's not just that they get a good first place, it's that they knock out a lot of players who are doing just fine and never did anything wrong along the way. Say if you get a Calicos, or if you get a Ghast Coiler into, God forbid, a Baron, or a Khadgar, which you could already have on board, well, your opponent's screwed, right? And if you get the right death rattles, you can kill somebody from 30, you can kill somebody from 40 with the right board. Probably not 40, but you never know. So overall, just an unfair hero. I think Battlegrounds is probably the best state I've ever seen it right now. I absolutely love Battlegrounds right now. But Galakron's just stupid. All the other heroes are kind of fine. You know, some of the bad heroes could use a tune-up. Some of the good heroes could use a tune-down, but Galakron, they should just remove it from the pool until they fix it. This is like Wagtoggle, it's like Tyrion. All those busted heroes, I can't believe they've left this in the game for as long as they have. It's just got to go. And the third thing that I want to talk about today that Hearthstone needs to fix right away is they got to fix the leaderboards. So if you're a good player right now, you probably noticed that for like 4 or 5 days this month, the leaderboards just didn't work. So whatever's going on there, that was a bit frustrating, especially with no communication. As I was climbing the Battlegrounds leaderboard, people were climbing the Wild and Standard leaderboards. There's just no excuse for Blizzard to let a big feature of their product break and then just not say anything. So I think they should make the leaderboards work, but also another thing is that they need to remove cheaters from the leaderboards when they get there. This is a problem that Blizzard has had going back years, actually. Back in the Snip Snap meta, there were people who totally cheated to get as many Snip Snaps in a turn as they wanted. They would remove the animations from their client, which is definitely cheating, and Blizzard regards it as such. Blizzard took months to ban these people, and when they did ban them, they were still on the leaderboards. And right now, in Battlegrounds, there's an MMR glitch, which I think still exists. I'm not 100% sure that you can still do it, but I think you can. So basically, you just concede like 1,000 games at 0 MMR or at a ranked floor formerly, and then you just play games against noobs all the way to the top. And so if you concede like a couple thousand games and then you just play against noobs, you can get as high MMR as you want because you're never going to lose. So right now there are people at 20,000, at 22,000 MMR, and it's literally not possible playing against good players to get that MMR. Like, you would have to first place every game against the best players the game can offer you, which is ridiculous. So these players admit the system is broken. One of them even acknowledges it in the name. Just remove these players from the leaderboards and fix your system, right? There are so many things that you can do to fix this, and I think that it depends how complicated the MMR system is, but I'm pretty sure that you could program this. You could just put one person on it for like a couple hours or a day or something like that. Yeah, it's a little expensive to do that, but you know, small indie company, I think they can afford it. So fix the leaderboards, Blizzard. It's not too hard. The fourth thing I want to talk about, and of course you guys are going to notice that a lot of these are specific to my particular situation, and that's okay. I didn't say that these are literally the objective things that they need to fix, just my opinion, is they need to reward players for doing well in the game. So right now you have quests, you got to win 7 ranked games in a week. Okay, great. I win my 7 ranked games, now what? Especially if I'm a good player. What really is the point of playing Hearthstone against other good players? You know, if you're just trying to farm packs, complete your quests, and have a good time, why would you ever want to keep your rank high? It doesn't make any sense. So for players that are competitive, just offering a small reward for doing well in the game makes perfect sense. In Standard, sometimes you can get invites to tournaments for finishing high. Here's what I'm proposing. And I've said this before, but I think that every single leaderboard finish, all game modes, all servers should award a golden pack. Maybe multiple golden packs. I don't know. You could tune it up so that, you know, rank 1 finish gets maybe 10 golden packs. You know, top 10 might get 5 golden packs. Now, that sounds pretty crazy on the surface, right? That is a lot of dust to award to these players. But if you keep in mind, we're talking about maybe 600, 1,000 players across Blizzard's entire player base, and not just any players, but the players who are literally playing at the top of the game and are most likely most dedicated to the game. So if you just gave them a little nugget to play for, I would get top 200 finishes on every server every month in Wild if they did this, because there's a reason to do it. But right now, there's literally no reason to do it other than racking up points on third-party websites who track leaderboard finishes. And number 5 is actually one that doesn't apply to me as much as others, but I think it absolutely needs to be changed. And that is change the dust system, right? Legendaries, you need to dust 4 legendaries to create a new one. I think it's fine if your legendaries don't dust 1-to-1, right? You dust one legendary, you create one. I don't think that's necessarily what needs to happen. I think it'd be great, and I think there are other card games, as far as I'm aware, where you can basically do that. But Hearthstone is the leader in the industry, right? They have the most players, they make the most money, and so they don't need to make the most gratuitous changes like other card games do to attract and keep players. But I think if they change the dust system just to be a little bit more rewarding, yeah, they would lose out on some pack money, but it would make players very happy. I think 2-to-1 for, epics and legendaries would be just fine, but even a small change, 3-to-1 would feel so much better. Because right now in Wild, say I want to show off something on stream, and I don't think it's going to be very good, but I have to make sure. Well, I'm going to have to go through my collection. If I want to craft a legendary or, God forbid, 2 or 3 for a deck, I'm going to have to dust a lot of stuff from my collection. I'm going to have to make hard choices. And I get it. Blizzard wants me to spend money in those cases, but that's not always an option for all of us. Sometimes we just want to have fun in the game with the money that we paid for in the expansion. So change the dust system. They won't do it. They won't do it, but I think they should do it. So those are my full thoughts on what needs to be changed in Hearthstone right now. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Do you not care? Leave a comment. I'm interested to hear what the community's consensus on these ideas are. And of course, if you like Battlegrounds content, if you like Wild content, then make sure to follow and support the channel so that I can continue doing this content for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on Ladder.